Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right. The poor NCAA. I feel so bad for them. And their little president, oh, the new guy. It's just such a shame. And we also have to say, sorry, Auburn. Doesn't look like Rodney Garner's going anywhere. I'm in a bit of a smart alecky mood today, in case you can't tell by this thumbnail. The NCAA, we're going to talk about that after we talk about Rodney Garner. But let's get into this first story. This is on Volunteer Nation by Evan Crowell, a fine writer. Said Rodney Garner staying at Tennessee. Said, and that's despite the reports that he may be headed to Auburn. Now, Rodney's got a lot of history at Auburn. That's why people were concerned. But I wasn't terribly concerned about it, but it would have been a huge loss for us. He's the one shining light of our defense. He's kind of the glue for that defensive line, and he's done a fantastic job. I wish our secondary was half as good as our defensive line. It's not. We would be a very tough team to deal with. Talks about his units routinely disrupting football games. Says he sends guys to the NFL. He recruits at an elite level. I mean, he's just an excellent assistant coach. I would think he's got to be our best assistant coach, doesn't he? I mean, he's pretty much got to be. And he gets paid really well, by the way. He makes almost $1 million a year.
$1 million.
He's in a rock-solid situation with Josh Heupel. Do you really want to go over there with Hugh Freeze? Now, Hugh Freeze is a good coach when it comes to winning and losing. The problem is you don't know what he might do. He's got a little bit of a screw loose on certain things, so you got to be careful. He's going to win at Auburn. I'll just go ahead and tell you, Auburn fans that are watching, he's going to win a lot of games. But I wouldn't trust him if I'm Rodney Garner, given the circumstances that Garner's in. He's got a great job. He makes great money, and he doesn't have a lot of risk. And he's, 58 years old, so I wouldn't be moving anywhere if I was him. Plus, the fans love him. Says several reports and murmurs made it seem like Garner was interested in returning to his alma mater, but VolQuest Austin Price confirmed that Garner will return to the University of Tennessee next season. That's all I need to see. When Austin Price tells you something, that's about as close to putting it in the bank as you can put it. That'd be almost like Jimmy Himes telling you something. Those are two guys, when they speak.
When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Yeah, people listen. Now, for you Auburn fans, I hate to do this. I actually like a bunch of you, but I got to do this.
Shut up!
Yep. Yeah, you need to hush. You've been coming into my comment section saying, oh, we're getting Garner. He's going to come back home, blah, 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 and you're going to have to find a new defensive line coach. No, we're not. You need to find your own defensive line coach. Okay. You've got plenty of money down there. You've got all that Yellowwood money. Just go on out, get your own defensive line coach, and quit sniffing around Knoxville, because we're tired of it. And stay out of my comment section unless you got something positive to say. You can say negative stuff too. I don't care. All right. Now here's where I really get smart alecky. The situation with the NCAA. As you know, while they think they won the temporary restraining order fight, which they kind of did, the judge, you got to love this judge. He said, yeah, we won't do the TRO. But he said, by the way, you're not going to win the case.
You will lose.
I love that. He pretty much just telegraphed the NCAA, you need to work something out. You probably ought to go over there and beg for forgiveness from the University of Tennessee, and maybe they'll let you off the hook, but I wouldn't. There's no way. This new president comes in, and 3 months ago he said this.
Right now, there are no rules around how name, image, and likeness works. And for your audience, that's the opportunity for student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, but somehow we're breaking rules that didn't exist. There were guidelines. In other words, suggestions, for lack of a better way of saying it. I guess they decided to come in and retroactively and make those rules, but those rules break the law. The Sherman Act, which we've talked about a great deal, and I'll show you what the judge said. Yeah, right here it says, considering the evidence currently before the court, plaintiffs, meaning Tennessee and Virginia, are likely to succeed on the merits of their claim under the Sherman Act.
Oh, no. No.
So, we can go through all these steps and waste everybody's time, but you're going to lose. You want to know why you're going to lose? Because it's already been determined in the Supreme Court 9-0. That's why. But now let's get into something I think is very interesting. And this was done by 247. And this is a story by Chris Hummer. And this is a great story. They basically allowed recruits to speak to 247 anonymously, which is perfect. Now they can just kind of say whatever they want to say, and, and not have to worry about getting in trouble with the NCAA or their school or whatever. And in this story, it says, how real is NIL? Anonymous recruits in college football's 24 class dish on collectives, contracts, and more. So we're not talking about guys that are fifth-year seniors. I took a bunch of grief over the Carson Beck thing because he got a $300,000 Lambo because he wanted $4 million, and I guess Georgia ponied up a bunch of dough. I don't know if he got all $4 million, but he had enough money extra in his pocket to go buy a $300,000 Lambo. But anyway, a lot of people said, oh, yeah, but he's a fifth-year senior, so he might have really had an NIL deal. Maybe he's doing Lambo commercials for all we know. Okay, we'll go down that path. I'll grant you that. But let's see what the recruits say. There's 15 of them, by the way, and they're all 4 and 5 stars. It says 15 4 and 5 stars disclosed to 247 exactly what they'll receive and what they'll earn at the school of their choice. The values run the gambit from a few thousand a month to around $1 million a year. The first recruit, and these are just the amounts they're getting a year, $350,000, $400,000, and you'll see anywhere from there's 120 as low as 72, 75, 400. Here's a guy that gets $1 million. That's probably a quarterback. Here's a guy that only gets a few thousand. That's probably a low 4-star. Here's a guy that's getting 600 to 800. That's either a quarterback or an edge guy. Certainly a 5-star. That's a 5-star for sure. Low to mid 6 figures, 200 to 500 grand, 150. So that's how much blue chip recruits can make. They all had a rating of 91 or above, so they're all big time players. How the contract works says NIL agreements can vary greatly from school to school and collective to collective. There were commonalities in the responses. This one guy said, the way I have it, the first 2 years are $400,000 guaranteed, and after my sophomore year, I can ask to renegotiate. Now, how can you be guaranteed $400,000 the first 2 years? You aren't even enrolled. That's against the NIL rules or the guidelines. That's impossible. There's no way teams are telling somebody who's a high school recruit, you're going to get 400 grand the first 2 years. Just go ahead and sign on the dotted line. They're not, they can't do that. Now, granted, every single team in the country's doing that, but the NCAA can't see that.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
They're only focused on Tennessee and FSU. But that must be an outlier. That can't be the case. Nobody else can be doing that. This guy says if you produce, you get bonuses. That's almost like pay for play. Huh. Here's a guy that says it's a collective thing. Recruit number 6 said, just be part of the team. Everybody gets it. No, that's not possible. That'd be all about being just on the team. That's not going out and doing NIL appearances and doing all that. That's just being on the team. That's pay for play. That's not possible. This is crazy. I'm shocked. Gambling at a casino? Say it ain't so. Recruit number 14 said, people get paid to play, but the numbers that you're hearing are outrageous. Said, when people say you're getting millions, it's not that, basically. Said, this isn't to say that the numbers won't approach $1 million a year for special players at special positions. Now, I do think people do exaggerate. I doubt Carson Beck got $4 million. I think he's in the $2 million, maybe $3 million range because he's a special player. He really is. I'm sure he makes well more than $1 million because, he turned down the NFL where he would have been the 4th or 5th guy picked and had a really nice contract, and I'm sure he'd gone in the first round. So it has to be at least 3, I would think, for him to consider coming back. One guy said, my school wasn't the school that offered me the most money. That's impossible. Recruit number 3 said that. They don't offer money before you've gotten there. He must have misspoke. All these guys they're all misspeaking. This isn't right. Says a lot of schools just threw out money and stuff, but I'm not chasing money. I want to play and perform. Said some schools told me, just give me a number and you can commit at that number. It was intriguing, but I felt like it might be a trap. Recruit number 7 said some schools said, just throw it out there very early in the process. What do you want, basically? Now, if you're the NCAA, look, Charlie Baker, don't read this article. because it's going to upset you. And then you'd have to look at every team if you did that. Now, granted, everything they're doing computes with the law. Okay, they're actually allowed to do this according to the Sherman Act. What is not allowed is what you're doing, NCAA, which is coming down, cracking down on schools when they're basically offering money to play on their team. They're allowed to do that as far as the law is concerned. Now, these silly guidelines that the NCAA is putting out that they're getting ready to get smacked down again in court, which is just what they do.
Again.
They literally just get killed in court. I mean, the judge just pretty much told you.
The moose out front should have told you.
But I guess they'll keep playing their stupid little game. At some point, you would think they'd realize they're doomed and they have no chance. And look, everybody sees what's happening here. And they need to just accept that the world is changing. And kids are going to get paid to play football or basketball or whatever, and that's the way it's going to be. And what they need to do is just back off, get away from the NIL rules, and just let the free market be free, because it's only going to end up bad for you. Now, eventually, this will probably end up in some sort of collective bargaining situation long term. It's hard to say. You've got Dartmouth up there. The National Labor Relations Board has voted that their basketball team are now employees of Dartmouth. So this is all going to start snowballing over time. But I will tell the Tennessee Vols fans, if you're worried about the NCAA, let me tell you something. Don't worry about the Vols. We're going to be fine. You need to worry about the NCAA. They're the ones in danger, and we're the ones that are going to put a fork in them. Now, understand, we let them kick us in the teeth for 2 years. We took our penalties for legitimate rules breaking. That was back when you were not allowed to pay players. Jeremy Pruitt did his thing, $60,000 in impermissible benefits, money, travel, things like that he did. Those were against the rules. And we wound up paying about $12 million. And for all the people that say, oh, well, you let the NCAA wear Jeremy Pruitt out so you didn't have to pay him. We paid more to the NCAA than we would have paid to him. So that's a false narrative that's ridiculous at this point. And we knew it was going to be a huge penalty. We were just fortunate that we didn't get the bowl ban at the time. But now the NCAA said, we need a team to make an example out of. We need a university that we can really kick the crap out of. And since they would be a repeat offender, the Vols are the perfect prey. So let's make them the sacrificial lamb. Let's, back in the old medieval days, what they do is they basically put a head on a stake. And they put it on the outskirts of a city, so when people come in that city, they know what's going to happen to them if they break the rules. I think that's what they wanted to do to the Vols. They wanted to go all medieval with us. Well, now you'd better be worried about your existence, NCAA, because we're going to grind you into powder, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I know a lot of y'all are out there, you've been telling me, calm down, don't be so. Look, we didn't start this. I didn't start this fight. NCAA came after us. That's a fact. And there's a lot of teams rooting for us because they can't wait to see the NCAA go down because they know they're going to hit them next. They've already sent a bunch of letters out to other schools. It's just they wanted to hit us, be one of the first ones so they could really show an example and then make everybody else cower.
A new power is rising. Its victory is at hand.
That's not going to happen. So Charlie Baker, I know he thinks he's the new sheriff in town. Really, he's not. The Supreme Court's the sheriff.
About time this town had a new sheriff.
And you're kind of I don't know, bookkeeper or something at the sheriff's office or something. Maybe that's what you are, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that job. But you're not the sheriff. So you might as well just forget that.
Man's got to know his limitations.
And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover my Vols, the SEC, NCAA, or any of these other big stories that come out. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Hit this little button. I'd appreciate it. Costs you nothing, and it helps me out. And right over here's the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. Give that one a watch. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.